A picture has leaked from last week's major world powers meeting in Germany, the G20, where Ivanka Trump, the unelected daughter of the president, was seen sitting in the United States chair next to other world leaders instead of the actual president of the United States. Here is a picture that leaked of Ivanka Trump sitting next to British Prime Minister Theresa May, German Chancellor, and the new leader of the free world, Angela Merkel, and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Donald Trump, of course, talking about just how great it was that Ivanka Trump was able to do this.
I'm very proud of my daughter, Ivanka. Always have been. From day one, I have to tell you that, from day one. She's always been great. Champion. She's a champion. If she weren't my daughter, it would be so much easier for her. Might be the only bad thing she has going, if you want to know the truth.
According to the AFP, the White House later said Ivanka, quote, briefly joined the main table when the president had to step out. It doesn't matter whether it was brief or not, or what the reason was. Ivanka Trump is not a representative of the American people. If someone needs to step in for the president, put in some kind of government official. Our depraved Russia-connected Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, for example. Imagine for 1 second if Hillary Clinton were president and had Chelsea sit in for a little while at the G20. There is no scenario where Republicans look the other way if Hillary Clinton is tired or has to step out or whatever, or doesn't show up, and her daughter, who was not elected by the American people to represent them and would actually be forbidden from working for her because of nepotism laws, sits in at a meeting. This is an unelected person connected to the president only by virtue of being their kid. And she sat on the world stage as the representative of the United States of America.
And what Trump was getting at in that video, too, was that Ivanka wouldn't face scrutiny had she not been Trump's daughter. But she wouldn't even be in that room if it wasn't for Trump's daughter. I mean, maybe she may have still had a successful fashion career.
Maybe.
Right? If she may have been a self-made person, regardless of if she was born to Donald Trump or not. But that wouldn't put her in the room with all those world leaders at the G20 summit.
That's right. He's right that if she weren't his daughter, she would not be suffering scrutiny because she wouldn't be in the room. And by the way, Ivanka has told us that she tries to stay out of politics many times. Here's just one example of that.
You know, I try to stay out of politics. You know, I make it very clear where I stand on a certain issue.
Tough to stay away, apparently. How is Ivanka even there, right? I mean, because of the anti-nepotism laws, how is she even able to be there? Well, she is an unpaid advisor with no official role, skirting the letter of the ethical restrictions of nepotism laws. And this entire thing of, well, Trump has separated from his businesses. Not really. Ivanka Trump is an unpaid advisor. She has no such restrictions. She's advising Trump and working on the businesses as much as she wants, or at least fully aware of what's going on with the businesses. Trump is running the country like a business, right? This is what he did in business. You get his kids, he got his kids to do the work as needed. This is the type of thing you see and expect in less developed nations, not what we should expect from the United States. And I'm getting emails, Pat, from lower level elected officials from Europe, from the European Union, who watch the show. And they're saying, if this happened in our countries, you would see dismissal from government taking place. It's just not being taken seriously in the United States. And there's basically two paths forward, right? Either this presidency ends up being seen as a sort of aberration in every way when it's looked back at from the future, an outlier, it was a terrible idea, and it's something that we've learned our lesson on and will never repeat. Or the Trump presidency might normalize this, and we will end up seeing a series of Trump-like, totally abortive elected officials. And I'm worried it's going to be the latter because we're seeing very little in the way of repercussions for Trump right now.
And sure, Ivanka Trump was technically allowed to sit in for the president at that time because she was part of his party, his delegation there at the meeting, but she should not have been there in the first place. And I think that's the greater point.
It is a laughingstock. It is a total and utter laughingstock. And the world is laughing, quite literally. Talk about this with us on our Reddit discussion forum at davidpakman.com/Reddit. We'll be back Today's program made possible in part by Movement Watches. Movement Watches has a cool backstory, which is not that different from the David Pakman Show's history. They were started by two broke college kids who wanted stylish watches. They would go in to big department stores and they'd see price tags of $400, $500, and $600 on the watches that they liked. So instead, they did a crowdfunding campaign, much like the David Pakman Show has done at different points in our history. They completely cut out the middleman and, just as importantly, the retail markup that exists on many watches. And they now provide really great looking watches for as little as $95. I have two Movement watches, this being one of them with the white face. Everywhere I go, people say, that's a really good watch. The other day I checked in at my dentist's office and they look at me and they said, what kind of a watch is that? I really like that. And I notice when I'm talking to friends, I'll just be talking and gesticulating as I tend to do. And they're focused on the watch rather than my face, which is not great for our conversation, but apparently it's good for Movement watches. You can get a Movement watch with a 15% discount, free shipping and free returns in case it's not right for you, by going to mvmt.com/Pakman. 15% off, free shipping, free returns, mvmt.com/PAKMAN.